Landscape.
Alright, so here I am in my other half of my neighborhood. Over there is where I used to go and get coffee. There's a Starbucks over there, and then there's obviously right there a big Chili's right there. This over here is actually where I used to work. We'll walk up here a little bit and I'll kind of show you a little bit of the area. They've changed this place a lot since I've been gone, and I mean a lot. Did a lot of construction.
Viewfinder.
Sorry.
Speech off.
So there goes my noise maker. So this is where I used to work, right over here. This is the school for the blind in Austin. I was what's called a residential specialist over there, and they've changed a ton of the stuff around since I've been here. They've actually torn down buildings. This stuff here wasn't even here like this before. They've torn down buildings and put up new ones right here. The main building over there. They've just done a lot of work around here. My 3 members of my immediate family have actually worked at the School for the Blind. So they didn't even have this here like this before. My brother worked here for 15 years. My mom for, I want to say 2 or 3. And then I worked here for, I want to say 6 years. So we have all combined about almost a quarter of a century worth of time working here. But they've changed a lot, improved it. As a matter of fact, one of my exes I was talking about, Megan, she still works here from the best of my understanding. Mind you, I don't talk to her, but I think she still works here. No, a lot of construction. This is new here in front of you here. That's new. The main building is new. I mean, all this stuff originally was super old. Like they had buildings that were, I want to say from at least the early 1930s here. As a matter of fact, there's a picture that they used to have in their lobby here that said, it was like a picture from the 1800s when this place was kind of an asylum of sorts, believe it or not. The people who came here were, blind, but the world ignored them and excluded them because of their impairment. So this was almost an asylum for those people to just be removed from society. So this is where they would go. Same campus has been here for this many, over a century now, almost a century and a half. I think since the times of Lincoln, believe it or not. I think around that time. But this is a new building right here. They got rid of the old one, tore it down. New building. I mean, that just looks brand new. It's just amazing. And they've done a lot of construction to improve the quality of it. This school started out, like I said, as an asylum for people who were basically exiled from society. It wasn't necessarily because they had any mental challenges, but just because of their, physical issue with their sight being either impaired or blind. They were excluded from society. There's a shot of the building real quickly. It's a real nice building. They did a really good job with it. But they keep doing more and more construction. Anyway, so it was an asylum originally. And then sort of in the, I want to say the mid 1950s, it started becoming a place where sight impaired people could actually get a really decent education and prepare themselves for, the world outside, even though it was, they live here on campus. In most cases, they live on campus. And so they would, live in dorms and such like that. But so they kind of got an idea of a mock society, but surrounded by people who were of similar, sight impairment issues or physical disabilities. And then as time went on, they started to incorporate more disabilities. People who have mobility issues as far as physically walking and such, hearing impaired. And the school slowly evolved into deaf, blind, and wheelchair kids and kids with more profound cognitive disabilities, to the point where the blind aspect of it became more of a secondary element versus the primary reason. So now it hasn't returned to the asylum concept, but it's definitely returned more. There's a few more visuals of the place as we walk by. But definitely it's become now more of a sort of a support center for people who are going to go into assisted living, which is like, group homes and things like that. Not a lot of them are going out into independent living in that situation, in any extreme sense or any average sense. But hey, you know what? At least they still have a place to go. I kind of lost my ability to tolerate some of the behavior around here because of some of the things I experienced when I was here. Quick story, if I could tell it. There was a kid who had a sight impairment, but his major disability was severe CP, and he was in a wheelchair. So he had, issues with his hands, and he couldn't physically write or anything like that. So he would constantly say, and I used to say this a lot when I was a kid, I don't know if you did or not, but I did. He used to say, "I'm sorry" a lot. Like, I always used to sort of apologize for myself. And he did the same thing even when he did nothing to do it. He would just come up and talk to you, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to talk to you. I'm sorry. I really am sorry." So I said, at one point to him, I said, if you keep saying that, I'm going to have you, record into a tape recorder, because you can't physically write, record into a tape recorder saying, "I will not say I'm sorry unless it's absolutely necessary." So that he would get the idea that he didn't always have to apologize for himself. Well, he said it, so I had him go and write it 100 times, or say it 100 times into a tape recorder. "I will not apologize unless it's absolutely necessary." And believe it or not, just like if you were having a kid write on a chalkboard, "I will not throw gum or chew gum" or whatever in class, it worked for him. It impacted him for a few days. And then the behavioral specialists at this school said that that was borderline abuse, because having him say stuff like that, even though it was for his own improvement as far as his behavior, to not feel like he was always having to apologize for himself, they got ticked and said it was borderline abuse. Nothing happened to me, but they didn't like it. So after that, I lost my taste for the place, and I basically said, okay, it's getting ready to time to move on. Very close to as a matter of fact, the last day I worked here at the school, we're walking by around the circle of it right now. This is how long it is. It takes up this whole city block. It's actually huge. It's probably a good mile's worth of space on the lot here. But anyway, so a day before I left School for the Blind and stopped working here, I actually met Megan, my ex, here. She was a student at the time, believe it or not. About 10 years younger. We dated after I was actually no longer an employee. But it was a very freaky thing. People were pissed off at me and thought I was molesting children or whatever. But I was never doing that. We dated after I worked here. I was done with my tenure when I started dating her. So I'm being really candid with you. The point is that people will make judgments about you all the time. But this was an interesting school. Here it is right here, as we pass by it. School for the Blind. So this is a neighborhood over here. This is where a bunch of convenience stores are. There's a first date I had with Jennifer a long time ago was over there at that place called Upper Crust Bakery, which I'm not sure if it's still there, and they might have passed by it too far to check it out. But old grounds, old stomping grounds, old neighborhood. This is a bus stop over here. This is where we used to catch the bus all the time over here. The guy needs to get his muffler checked out. Anyway, so I'm walking by here, but that's pretty much it. Just wanted to kind of share this particular aspect of my background and my old neighborhood with you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Click the like button down below if you enjoyed this and want to see more vids. Subscribe for future vids. Share with your friends. Help me spread the word as I apple the world. It sounded cooler in my head, right? As I apple the world. And we're going to do some more fun stuff, but just wanted to share my past with you, because your past is an important part of your future. Helps you learn where you want to go and what you want to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Go visit some of the places that you remember that maybe inspired you to grow as a person, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Live on.